I'm Bill Parsonage. I was born in Maple Creek in 1929 on the 12th of June. Married to John and Grace Parsonage. Well, there's 5 kids in the family. There's Maggie and Jack and myself and Skimp and Alice. Alice and Jack are dead.
Okay, your dad came west in '99. He came out of Manitoba in '99. That was pretty early for this part of the country. Did he ever tell you anything about his trip west, and how they made out and what happened?
You know, Dad didn't. Dad never was very great on telling about himself. But Reddy talked a bit about it. He said they had quite a time coming west, you know. I guess they had some milk cows with them, and they used to milk cows morning and night, and Grandma would put the cream in under the wagon for the day, and she'd have butter in it that night. And that's about all I really know about that.
Did they have enough horses to everybody was mounted, or some?
Well, yes, I think they were all mounted. I think they were. I'm not sure of that either, Will.
And something else about your dad while we're on it that I've always been interested in. He rode on some of the early day open range roundups.
He rode on, I think, about 3 of them. I'm not sure. And those roundups started on, I think, the top of the hills and went down to the Bear Paw Mountains.
That'd be about, what, 80 miles?
I would guess about 80 miles, yeah.
Well, what about your mom? She was pioneer stock, too.
Mom was born in Maple Creek in 1895. It's kind of gray, that history of Mom. Her dad had a homestead up on Cooley. And I have a picture of Mom as a baby. Now I'm stuck, can't think of the name. On the lake there, Adams Lake. Johnny Adams. Johnny Adams had a place on the west side of that lake. It's buried in the water now. But the Mom and her mother and dad are in a buggy, and Johnny Adams is on a horse. And I would guess that was being about 1886, and I think they were on the 4 Mile at that time.
Then, well, where were you raised at, Bill? Where did you spend the biggest part of your young days?
Well, till I was 10, I was on Mary Flat. I started school at Mary Flat, and we were on Mary Flat till I was about 10, then they moved to the Worthy place. There was 45 kids went to that school at Mary Flat at that time.
What about those schools down south?
Well, there was about a dozen of us, I think, somewhere in there.
So you'd learned to look after yourself pretty good at Mary Flat School.
Oh yeah, yeah, we did.
So then when you guys moved south, you did a lot of cattle chasing back and forth between...
Quite a bit.
Reddy's on Mary Flat and the Worthy place.
Yeah, we did.
You must have some tough trips there.
Quite a few.
I don't know, where's the Worthy place at, Bill?
It was southeast of Senate, about 10 miles, I guess, as the crow flies. I think about 10, 12 miles. We figured it was about 30 miles between the place at Mary Flat and the Worthy place.
And you rode back and forth on a pretty regular basis?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah. You mentioned one time about Gilchrist outfit moving cattle through there, and you rode with them.
Well, I only went for a day with them. They come in there. We got up in the morning. There was about 500 head of yearlings out north of the buildings, and Dad wasn't very happy, but they borrowed a bunch of bread from Mom, and we headed those cattle west.
And you went along?
I went along, yeah. Yeah, I went to the other side of Govan-Lock a ways, and that was it. Sherry picked me up and brought me home. We moved quite a lot of horses from back and forth between the Worthy place and up Mary Flat.
Was that work horses? Saddle
Mostly work horses, yes.
Did you trail cattle over to Altoan to sell, to go on the train?
I only ever made one trip to Altoan in my life, and that was with Hugh Halliday and Eddie McInerney. We cut a bunch of calves out of the cows, the kraals, and the PFRA, and chased those calves over to Altoan. We took them straight off the cows.
So how did that go?
Well, we went like hell for the first mile or two. Then they settled down.
So where did you guys ordinarily trail your beef to then, Bill?
Maple Creek. Well, quite a bit to Consul. From the Worthy place, we took them to Consul most of the time. Sold them there.
You mentioned one time chasing cows and calves into Consul and shipped the calves and the cows followed the train.
Yeah, we took a bunch of cows and calves in there one time and took the cows off them and put the calves on the train and let the cows out, and by golly, those cows followed that train right to Senate. We had cows scattered all over that country. We took a bunch of beef in there one time. I was packing a rifle, and when we got right down and put the rifle in the buyer's car, and he had a kid with him, and about 10 minutes after I'd left him, there was a big bang, and the kid come pouring out of the car. He shot a hole in the back end of that car. Still,
Did the beef buyer, was he pretty shook up?
well, a little bit, yeah. Not as bad as the kid.
So you were talking about trailing horses there. You guys, you yourself at least, got into the supplying rodeo stock there for a few years.
Well, we started taking stuff to the rodeo in about, I guess, 52 or 53, somewhere in there. We went to Maple Creek, Elkwater, and we took horses out to the DB for a PFRA rodeo. Elkwater was always the big job. It was a long ways. I think I took horses to Elkwater for 4 years. I'm not sure, but I think I did. I think I had Bruce Bartlett one year, and Bob Cochran, Jim Leslin, and Ed Keeley helped me. And I forget who was with me the last time. And we took quite a few horses to Greyburn too. We took stuff to Greyburn. I had Elkwater. Well, they used to take a bunch of race horses and so on to Greyburn. We never took bucking horses up there till the latter years of Greyburn. Sonny Montour helped me up there to Greyburn one time too.
How did you travel when you went to Greyburn?
Well, we generally went up past, we'd go over to Uncle's and up through Brett's, on the west side along the fort there, up through Montour's, and then up the bottom to Greyburn.
How did you get these horses? Did you raise them?
Oh yeah, they were all horses we raised.
You were all your own stock.
Yeah.
You bucked a lot of them old mares too, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We bucked out a lot of old mares. Spoiled horses.
Yeah, a lot of rank stock.
Yeah. I had to have help taking the horses to a stampede, but I could sure as hell bring them home alone.
Did they line out pretty good once you got them going, Bill?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they'd string right out. They were quite easy to move. Horses were easy to move, especially when you'd been moving them a bunch. They'd trail right out. Generally, we only really needed 2 people, just man behind somebody on the lead. And coming home, somebody on the lead was all. We took those horses up to the DB that time. We had to go under the railroad, and Jim and I found a trestle, a low trestle. We took saddles off our horses and led their saddle horses under, and the horses followed us. We were lucky in hell we didn't get a train coming along.
Well, and what year did you get married, Bill?
Francis and I got married in '59. We come down here About the first month we lived here, we lived in a little shack till we got our house moved in. And we've been busy on this place ever since, I guess.
You mentioned some of the tougher winters. I recall that year that you and Francis got married, you did a bunch of cat work for my dad up there.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty tough fall.
Yeah. That fall we got married.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days before we got married, your dad sold a bunch of cattle at the ranch place. I was up there with a cat, opening the road for him.
And as I recall, blew in, you had to open it again.
Yeah.
And Francis raised a family as well.
Yeah, we had one girl, one boy. Jim's on the place now. Nancy lives in McNutt in eastern Saskatchewan. And she has MS very bad.
And you got some grandchildren too.
Yeah, 3 kids down there and 2 up here.
All girls, Bill?
No, 1 boy.
1 boy.
1 boy, yeah.
So at what point did you decide that you were going to get interested in an airplane?
Well, I always kind of did want to try flying an aircraft. Bobby Cochran and I were going to buy one down in Hamburg one time, but old Kate and Clarence kicked up a hell of a row. We didn't.
So where did you take your lessons at?
Got my flying license in Medicine Hat from Barracks Aviation. Well, I bought my first aircraft off of Stubby Ross. It was a Ronca Champ. I kept it about a year and traded it off, and I bought another Champ, I guess. And I only kept that about a year. Traded it off and got a 120 Cessna, and I learned how to drive an airplane. And I traded it off and got the Super Cub.
So you went through a fair amount of planes then?
Yeah, I had 4 of them. I made money on every damn one I had to.
So what did you basically do with your airplane? What were you?
Oh, a hell of a lot. It was just fun flying. I looked cows quite a lot with that plane.
Well, you and Skip caught quite a few coyotes, huh?
Yeah, we shot quite a few coyotes with one winter. Well, we shot a few one other winter. 2 winters, actually.
Did you have any wrecks?
Well, yeah, Jim and I flew through a telephone line one time, tore up a telephone line, but that's the only wreck we ever had. We landed hit a rock with the Super Cub, put a ski on a rock and broke the tower on the ski. But we flew it home and we really didn't know we'd broke it till the next day when I went to take it out. It was bent in the middle. We had quite a lot of fun shooting coyotes.
I'll bet.
Oh, yeah. We shot one time. We made a hole in that big around. We were that close.
Why did you decide to get rid of her?
Well, my ears were gone to hell, for one thing. Landing about 10 feet in the air, so I quit. I figured it was time to quit.
Well, you had a good rip at her anyway.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it.
You've always been interested in wildlife and so on, Bill, and I just kind of wonder, there's all this controversy going on over sage hens right now. What's your take on the whole thing?
Well, I think it's a bunch of BS. And you know, we had lots of sage hens when I was a kid. There was all kinds of them. And Dad and Reddy claimed that there was no sage hens when they first moved to this country. They said there was none. But the kit fox was really, there was a world of kit foxes, I guess. And when the homesteaders come in, they had chickens, and the kit fox liked chickens, so he got trapped out. That was the end of the kit fox, and we got sage hens then. Up until about 1960, when we started getting red fox and coons, and the sage hen just disappeared from then on. I really believe that the fox and the coon cleaned them.
You mentioned as kids you used to run them into a page wire fence.
Yeah, there was a page wire fence on the east side of the old barn down there, and they would get in the shelter of the barn on a hot day, and we'd go in there and scare them out, and they'd run into that page wire and flap their wings, and you could catch them. We never ate them. Them old sage hens were so full of tapeworms they weren't worth eating.
And I'd kind of like to hear what you got to say about the antelope too. You've seen this population rise and fall for
Well,
a long time.
the antelope, when we first moved down there was a world of antelope there. You could ride all day and never be out of sight of antelope. And then the winter of '49 was really a rotten, cold winter, and it took the antelope really bad. It cut them to practically nothing. And they've really never come back since to that point, not to the point that it was at that time. The antelope, when we were young, they would pull out in the winter. They'd go south. We wouldn't see many antelope in the winter. And they'd string in for a week or two, and it comes spring, you'd see antelope stringing in.
But just generally speaking, with a lot of these things, like the sharp-tailed grouse and the Hungarian partridge, the sage hen, and I don't know, there's a lot of species that something happened to them. They're not here anymore. What's your take on that in a general way?
Well, I don't know. You know, I'll go back to the years when we lived down there. There was no deer. There was absolutely no deer in that south country. You never seen a deer till you got up into Linders and in there. There was no deer. Now, these last years have been deer all over that country. And as far as the prairie chickens, I think they're kind of a come and go, aren't they? I don't know.
Well, anyway, I guess there's still some around. I'd like to know what you think has been the biggest change, the most important change in the cow business since you were a kid till today. What's affected your outfit the most?
Well, one of the bigger things we've done, we've got a lot better cattle than we had in those years. Mind you, I don't think they're as tough as the old dogies were at that time, but I think we could improved our herds a whole bunch. We got a better system of marketing than we had in them days. You know, the truck's taking away the trailing. Whether it's better or not, I don't know. We have a better understanding, I think, of how to handle the range and so on, too. I really believe that. Because we're running a hell of a lot more cattle on the land we have. Mind you, in them days, there was no way we could get feed imported in, you know. It just didn't work.
And they didn't feed that much then either, did they?
No. You went through the winter pretty scarce.
So as far as work-saving devices of one sort or another, what do you think, what kind of a thing do you have around here that you think saves the most work?
I don't know. Post pounder for one. I guess the modern tractor and the baler and so on, in a sense it saved a lot of work, all right. It was horse wrangler for the Canadians. We had to take care of the horse herd for the Canadians. I had, I think, 5 guys working for me. Then we had all you young fellas around helping us. But we had to move those horses where we wanted them, and had to have everything had to be coordinated, I guess you'd call it. We had halters for each horse. Had to always be the same halter on the same horse all the time. Saddles were the same. And that was basically about what we had to do. We just had to watch everything.
Where'd you keep them?
Well, we kept them at the park at Bowles. We kept the horses at Bowles most of the time.
And that was in 1959?
Or was it 1960? I'm not sure. Yeah, it was in the fall. Yeah. We had a long, real good fall that year.
Yeah, the leaves stayed on forever. Oh.
Yeah, they did. Had put a bunch of horses down on a kind of a flat and fed them oats. They wanted to get a horse run, so they put those horses down there and got everything set, and we started shooting, and them horses took off, and that was one wild stampede.
They killed 3 horses out of
Yeah, we killed 3 horses that time. And they didn't have a gun to shoot the ones that were crippled, did they? So the police give me a revolver to shoot horses. Likely a hell of a lot more dangerous to me than it was to the horse.
Those were old range horses.
Yeah, they were old range horses, and they were a little wild.
Where did they come from, Bill? Where did they...
Well, they kind of, Naismith had a whole bunch of horses there, and Lawrence's, I guess that was about it, wasn't it? And on those loose horses, it was just Naismith and Lawrence's. We had horses from East, and, well, Reddy had horses there, and Naismith had some broke horses in that too. We had quite a herd of horses, and we had to load them damn horses into a semi-trailer, and it was some job sometimes, especially with the horse we called Dick. We'd fight with him every morning and every night.
Did you ride in the movie too? Like, were you one of the actors?
Well, yeah, I did a bit, not much. I took part of an Indian for the tail end of the movie.
Well, we should be getting your autograph. You're a movie star then.
We would leave the Worthy place and ride to Frames, and we'd have dinner with Frames or spend the night with them, then go on up to Maryflat. We always stopped at Frames. That was the stopover.
Then you guys chased cattle from Maryflat out to that place where Mom and Dad lived by Maple Street.
Yeah, to the Cashmore place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd make that in 2 days. We'd go out there with, stop at where Davy Gunter lives now, and then on out the next day. We used to take cows out there in the fall and pretty much winter them, and then pick them up and bring them back and feed them at Maryflat, like over at Uncle's. I remember going out there with a cat to pick them cows up, and there's a creek there nicknamed Shankles. There was quite a lot of snow at that time, and I plowed trail right up to the creek, and I got looking, and I figured it was a little too deep to plow, so I just picked up the dozer and drove across. And next day, a couple of days later, when we come back, there was a big hole in there. Somebody drove out there with a truck and got stuck. We could take them cows behind it with a hay rack, and that cat, they'd just follow right out, as they had no place else to go but the cat track.
What year would that have been?
In the early 50s. I stayed with Lyle and Maida Wilson the winter of 51 and 52. Went there. I went to their place on 1st of January and never was off the place till 17th of March when we moved back to Maryflat. It was a hell of a pile of snow that winter. Console washed out when spring came.
So what year did your mom and dad move to town? When did they sell that Cashmere place?
I think it was 59.
Well, when did they sell the Worthy place?
Well, Jack took that. Jack took that over, yeah.
And what year was that?
That was about 53, I think, somewhere in there. I think about 53.
And how long did they stay down there?
They were there 11 years.
Yeah, you guys ran cattle on the West Block for a lot of years too. In fact, still, it still does.
Yeah, well, we went on the West Block in about 1950, I think. I think somewhere in there. I'm not sure. I rode on the West Block a couple of years for Carl Spangler before we really put cattle up there.
So you've probably seen some pretty cool roundups in there.
Yeah, some kind of cool ones, all right. Your dad and I were up there, and it was the day before, like the first day of roundup. We got a thunderstorm, and that night we woke up in our beds and it was 20 below. It was shifted cold, and it started to storm, and they shut the roundup down for a week because of storm and snow. And we went back up and finished it up.
That was the first day? Did you run one day and then shut it down? Or?
Yeah, we got one day in, and then it started to storm. Went down to the White Mud on the second day and sat around the tent till they decided to move down to Nuttall's. Bill Nuttall was cook at that time.
Tell us about the roundups, Bill. What were they like?
Well, they were all right. We did a lot of riding in the roundups. It was three days of pretty steady riding, and there was a lot of whiskey drank in those 3 days.
You were on the directors for a lot of years too, on the board of directors.
I don't know how long I was on director, but I was on for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So you would ride for 3 days, and you had a cook at like a camp and a cook, and
Yeah.
and everybody stayed around.
That's
the
right.
cook shack at
Yeah.
night.
First years, we packed our bed with us and stayed right there. And then when the trailer come in, pick up truck, well, we went home. Made it a little easier, I guess.
But you guys took your spare horses too, didn't you?
Yeah, we packed. Well, generally just one spare horse.
Were you there the time the dog stole a roast?
Yeah, well, I wasn't there, but I heard about it. That was, yeah. The dog got on the chuck wagon and stole a roast. Your dad got the dog stopped. He liked his horses. He raised horses all his life, actually. The latter years he went into Appaloosa horses, and he sold those colts to an outfit in Iowa. And he's done that for, 5, 6, 7 years anyway. All those Appaloosa colts went south. He raised a whole bunch of kids. And stayed with Reddy and went to school. He even had his school teachers camped in the yard for a year, I guess.
Yeah. You guys rode a lot of those Appaloosa horses too.
Oh yeah.
Some of them were pretty tough stuff.
Yeah, they were pretty good horses. All the horses in them days would do a little bucking if you weren't a little careful. Of the main horse herd, we trailed them down to the border and met John Cox down there. He sold those horses to John Cox. And John was supposed to bring us dinner. And he brought us a whole carload of watermelon. I've never ate watermelon since. John would come up to where Mom and Dad lived at Worthy Place, and you'd spend a week with them, buying horses around the country. And he had Eddie McInerney and George Peterson take them to Havre. He'd gather them up, take them to the quarantine, have them take them to Havre.
What were they getting for those horses those days?
Oh God, I don't know, Wilkes. They didn't get a hell of a lot for them. I don't think over maybe $20 a head for the damn things. I know Dad took a bunch of horses up in around Tisdale one time. Took a carload of broke horses up there. Sold them to farmers up in that country. He never got paid for one team. He sold them on time and they never got paid for them.
What were the towns like Senate and Govenlock? Were they booming towns or just...
Well, Senate had 2 stores and Charlie Wing had a little restaurant. Nobody ate there, but he had it anyhow. You know, they weren't really much. They were little towns. Govenlock had 1 store. Govenlock was dying in my time. I guess actually Senate was too.
So anyway, we got pretty good cattle market this fall. Everything's going pretty good, Bill. What do you think the future of the cattle business is? How do you see it as it's carrying on?
Well, I hope it's good. If you know, if we can keep up our exports and not have too many cattle, not get back into cattle too much, I think our prices will stay pretty good. I'm hoping that what happens anyhow. I'd like to see the cowboy have a good market.
Do you see any change in the breed of cattle, or do you think it'll keep going the direction it's going with the black cattle?
I don't think they'll change too much. I really don't. I think they've come out about the end of their line. I think that people are thinking they've got enough weight on these cattle. We don't want them any bigger.